There's something almost no one dares to say, but I'll say it anyway. Every time you apologize for existing, you teach the world to diminish you. Is it hard to hear? Yes, but it's liberating. Have you ever noticed how some people enter a room and don't need to explain anything? They don't justify themselves, they don't defend themselves, they don't ask permission, and curiously, they are the same ones who dominate the environment. Meanwhile, many talented people spend their time over-explaining themselves, apologizing for speaking, for taking up space, for having an opinion. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. Politics guided by reality, not by ideals, shows that the world respects posture, not emotional speeches. And here's a counterintuitive statement. The more you try to seem understandable, the less authority you convey. Perhaps you've been taught that humility means diminishing yourself. That being nice is always the best strategy. That explaining your motives is a sign of maturity. But what if I told you that in practice this is draining your power? Better to be feared than loved isn't about intimidation. It's about not submitting. The end justifies the means when the end is to recover your dignity. Virtù and fortuna favor those who take a firm stand. If you're constantly justifying yourself, you're surrendering control of the frame of your own life. And no one who constantly seeks approval dominates the room. Today, you'll understand why ceasing to explain yourself completely changes how people perceive you. You'll discover how the calculated use of force, strategic silence, and decisions based on real human nature transform your presence. It's not about becoming arrogant, it's about becoming unshakable, because whoever dominates the room never explains, never justifies, they simply are. If something inside you awakened while listening, don't ignore that feeling. This channel isn't about videos, it's about memories. Remember who you were before the fear, before the exhaustion, before the silence. Each new video here is a different reflection of your own soul, an invitation to understand what the world never taught you. The power you seek outside has always been within you. If you feel that this journey speaks to what lives silently within you, sign up now. Not to follow yet another creator, but to reconnect with something the world tried to make you forget. Because here, every word was made to heal, each reflection to awaken, and each video serves as a reminder. You are not alone on the path back to yourself. Click on subscribe and turn the algorithm into a daily reminder of who you really are. He needs to understand one thing right away. Every time he begs for approval, he gives away a piece of his own power. It's hard to hear, I know, but it's liberating. When someone molds their words, their way of dressing, their opinions just to be accepted, they are living a diluted version of themselves. And here comes a lesson that Machiavelli would never ignore. Politics guided by reality, not by ideals. Real human nature doesn't reward those who beg. It rewards those who take a stand. When he seeks validation all the time, he conveys scarcity. And scarcity doesn't generate respect. Is it better to be feared than loved? Perhaps not in the literal sense, but in the symbolic sense. It's better to be respected for your firmness than loved for your submission. The problem isn't wanting to be accepted, it's human. The mistake is depending on it. Those who constantly try to please end up being predictable, and predictability is vulnerability. He starts acting with an appearance of virtue, trying to seem good, understanding, agreeable. But deep down, he's just trying not to be rejected. And that, my friend, drains energy. Consider a simple example. Imagine he's in a meeting and disagrees with something, but he stays silent so as not to seem difficult. In the short term, he avoids discomfort. In the long term, he loses respect. Decisions based on real human nature show that people respect more those who calmly hold their position than those who agree out of fear. Virtù and fortuna favor those who take calculated risks, not those who hide behind the crowd. Does the end justify the means? If the end is personal growth, yes, the means may be enduring some disapproving glances. He needs to learn the calculated use of force, firmness in voice, clarity in words, upright posture. It's not aggressiveness, it's presence. And presence isn't demanded, it's imposed naturally. When he stops chasing applause, something curious happens. People start paying attention. Constant adaptability is necessary, of course, but adapting isn't about self-annihilation. It's about choosing when to yield and when to stand firm. And there's an almost invisible detail. The more he seeks approval, the more manipulable he becomes. Those who depend on the liking of others will always be controlled by those who distribute crumbs of validation. It's as if he's asking permission to exist, and no one who asks permission dominates the room. Self-made and loyal armies are not formed by flatterers, but by leaders who trust in their own worth. He needs to realize that approval is a consequence, not a strategy. The real strategy is to build character, competence, and conviction. When he understands this, he stops over-explaining, stops justifying his existence. And he begins to see something even deeper. Perhaps the problem was never just the search for approval. Perhaps he was conditioned from an early age to believe that being nice was the only way to survive. He wasn't born seeking approval, he was trained for it. From a young age, he heard that he needed to be polite, well-behaved, agreeable. And don't misunderstand me, politeness is a virtue. But when that virtue becomes a fear of displeasing, it becomes a prison. Society taught him to associate love with obedience, and there lies the trap. Machiavelli observed something that few dare to admit. People react to politics guided by reality, not by ideals. In practice, those who always try to be nice end up being seen as weak, and weakness in the social game attracts manipulation. He was conditioned to believe that saying no is rude, that setting limits is selfishness, that disagreeing is arrogance. The result? He became predictable. And predictability, as we have seen, is vulnerability. He tries to maintain a constant appearance of virtue, as if he were in a permanent election campaign. But real life doesn't hand out medals to those who sacrifice themselves silently. Consider a common example. He's overwhelmed at work, but accepts yet another task because he doesn't want to disappoint. He's tired in a relationship, but remains available 24/7 for fear of losing the person. Sounds noble? Perhaps. But decisions based on real human nature show something else. Those who never set boundaries end up being exploited. Better to be feared than loved doesn't mean intimidation. It means being respected enough that others think twice before overstepping your boundaries. The calculated use of force here is simple, a calmly stated no without lengthy justifications, without guilt. Virtù and fortuna favor those who take responsibility for their own energy. The end justifies the means when the end is preserving one's sanity. And he needs to understand that constant adaptability isn't about always bending. It's about knowing when to stand firm as a rock. The most dangerous thing is that he doesn't even realize he's trapped. The prison doesn't have bars, it has praise. They call him a good guy, a partner, always available. And he's proud of that. But deep down, he's also tired. Your own loyal armies aren't formed by those who constantly try to please everyone. They're formed by those who know their worth and accept that not everyone will like them. When he starts questioning this conditioning, something stirs within him. He realizes that perhaps self-esteem isn't something found in motivational phrases. Perhaps it's something built, brick by brick, through concrete actions. He spent years thinking that self-esteem was something that appeared after an achievement or praise. It isn't. Self-esteem is built daily. It's silent discipline. It's commitment to one's own word. Machiavelli spoke of virtù and fortuna. Luck favors the prepared. Self-worth works the same way. He doesn't wake up one day feeling powerful. He becomes powerful when he begins to act like someone who respects himself. Politics guided by reality, not ideals, means understanding that the world doesn't reward intentions, it rewards results. He may say he's confident, but if he keeps breaking promises to himself, his mind registers inconsistency, and inconsistency weakens. The end justifies the means when the means are consistent effort. Better to be feared than loved. Here it means something subtle. It's better that people respect his discipline than feel sorry for his indecision. Value isn't declared, it's demonstrated. Let's get practical. Want to build value? Start with your body. Train 3 times a week without fail. It's not about aesthetics, it's about identity. Want to grow intellectually? Read The Prince by Machiavelli, The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene, and Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Not to quote pretty phrases, but to understand human patterns. Want to improve your finances? Study investment fundamentals, learn about variable income, understand solid companies. Decisions based on real human nature show that those who master resources master choices. Calculated use of force here is consistency. Waking up early when you don't want to, meeting deadlines even without applause. The appearance of virtue doesn't sustain reputation. Competence does. Your own loyal armies begin within your own mind, habits loyal to your mission. Constant adaptability means adjusting course, but never abandoning the objective. He needs to understand that self-esteem is a consequence of accumulated evidence. Every workout completed, every goal achieved, every limit imposed becomes internal proof, and internal proof is unshakable. When he stops talking about what he's going to do and starts actually doing it, something changes in people's perspectives, not because he demanded respect, but because he exudes consistency. Politics guided by reality, not ideals. The world observes behaviors, not speeches. Virtù and fortuna align with those who act, and the more value he builds, the less he needs to convince. The need for approval begins to disappear, and it is precisely at this point that a new skill emerges, knowing when to strategically withdraw. He was always taught to persevere. Go after it. Don't give up. Show that you want it. But almost no one taught him the power of retreat. And here is one of the most misunderstood lessons. Retreat is not weakness, it's strategy. Machiavelli understood that politics guided by reality, not by ideals, requires context reading. If the other party is too comfortable, if you are always available, always accessible, always ready, you become predictable, and predictability reduces value. Is it better to be feared than loved? In this case, it's better to be respected for your absence than to be trivialized by your constant presence. He needs to realize that excessive availability communicates neediness, and neediness weakens position. Virtù and fortuna favor those who know how to advance and those who know how to retreat. The end justifies the means when the end is to reposition your value. Sometimes the most powerful move is not to speak louder, it's to leave the room. Think of something simple. He texts and replies instantly every time. He accepts invitations even when he's tired. He solves problems that aren't his responsibility, and then he wonders why he's so exhausted. Calculated use of force here is choosing where to put energy. If someone doesn't respond with the same level of reciprocity, he reduces investment. No drama, no public announcement. He simply adjusts his behavior. Decisions based on real human nature show that people value what isn't guaranteed. Constant adaptability means realizing when you're giving too much and correcting course. The appearance of virtue would say, always be present. Strategy says, be present when it makes sense. Your own loyal armies don't march without purpose. They position themselves where there is an advantage. And there's something almost magical about strategic retreat. When he steps back, he regains energy, he observes more, he gains perspective, and interestingly, often the other side moves first, not because he manipulated, but because he stopped chasing. Politics guided by reality, not ideals, teaches that scarcity generates perceived value. Better to be feared than loved isn't about intimidation, it's about not being underestimated. When he stops begging for attention, he starts to be noticed. And then another common trap arises, the need to over-explain when he finally decides to act differently. He begins to change. He sets boundaries. He steps back when necessary. And then he feels that old internal pressure. I need to explain. As if every decision he makes requires a detailed report to be accepted. That's where the trap lies. Every time he over-justifies himself, he transfers power. Machiavelli observed something unsettling, yet real. Politics, guided by reality, not ideals, demands silent firmness. Whoever explains excessively is asking for disguised validation. Better to be feared than loved. Here it means something more refined. It's better that they respect his decision than understand all his motives. The end justifies the means when the end is to preserve his personal authority. An appearance of virtue leads to long speeches to seem reasonable. But decisions based on real human nature show that the more he talks to defend himself, the more vulnerable he seems. And vulnerability in this context is not sensitivity. It's unnecessary strategic exposure. Imagine the scene. He says, "I can't go." And the other person asks why. If he launches into a lengthy explanation, he's implicitly asking for approval. Calculated use of force is simple. It's not possible this time. Silence. End of story. Constant adaptability doesn't mean justifying every step. It means adjusting posture without losing authority. Virtu and fortuna favor those who convey security. Loyal and dedicated armies follow leaders who speak little and act with clarity. When he over-justifies himself at work, in relationships, in family, he creates a precedent. My decisions are open to a vote. And life isn't a permanent assembly. Politics guided by reality, not ideals, requires understanding that not everyone needs to agree with him. The curious thing is that when he stops explaining, something changes in the atmosphere. Some people test him, others respect him immediately. And he realizes that much of the pressure came from within, not from without. Better to be feared than loved here is synonymous with maintaining a firm stance. The end justifies the means when the means is strategic silence. He begins to realize that, in addition to stopping justifying, he needs to master something even more subtle. Frame control, that invisible battle that takes place in every conversation, where someone tries to define who has power and who reacts. He may never have heard the expression, but he feels its effect firsthand. Frame control is the invisible battle in every interaction. It's who defines the reality of the conversation, who reacts, and who leads. Machiavelli understood this instinctively. Politics, guided by reality, not by ideals, means understanding that in any dialogue, someone is establishing the limits of the game. If he enters the conversation already trying to defend himself, he has already lost half his strength. Better to be feared than loved here translates as better to be respected for firmness than loved for submission. When someone provokes him and he reacts emotionally, he has given up the frame. Calculated use of force in this case is maintaining composure. Decisions based on real human nature show that whoever remains calm under pressure automatically assumes psychological leadership. An appearance of virtue tries to please. Frame control establishes territory. Let's get practical. Someone says, "You've changed, you're acting strange." If he responds by justifying himself, he enters the frame of accusation. If he responds calmly, "Yes, I'm focused on different priorities now," he redefines the narrative. It's that simple. Virtù and fortuna favor those who maintain their position without aggression. Constant adaptability means adjusting language, but not abandoning the center. Loyal armies follow leaders who don't panic when questioned. The end justifies the means when the means are self-control. In meetings, this appears when he speaks slowly while others speak quickly. In discussions, when he maintains an open posture while the other gestures nervously. Politics guided by reality, not ideals, teaches that perception is power. Whoever controls the frame controls the energy of the room. The most interesting point is that frame control isn't about dominating others, it's about not being dominated. When he understands this, he begins to notice patterns. People try to label him, provoke him, belittle him. Constant tests. Better to be feared than loved here means not giving in to emotional testing. He maintains a steady gaze, answers little, asks more than he asserts. Calculated use of force can be a 3-second pause before responding. And that pause is worth its weight in gold. Decisions based on real human nature show that silence generates authority. And by mastering the frame, he begins to perceive something even greater. True freedom arises when he stops acting as a slave to a specific outcome. He spent a good part of his life acting out of fear of the outcome, fear of losing, fear of being rejected, fear of failure. And this silent fear always shaped his decisions. But here's a strategic shift that few understand. Those who depend too much on a specific result negotiate on their knees. Machiavelli already taught, albeit indirectly, that politics guided by reality, not ideals, requires options. Those who have options choose. Those who don't, accept. Better to be feared than loved. In this context means something sophisticated. It's better that they respect your autonomy than pity your need. The end justifies the means when the end is strategic freedom. Virtù and fortuna favor those who build alternatives before needing them. Independence from results is not indifference, it is the power of choice, and choice is born from preparation. Imagine a salary negotiation. If he desperately depends on that raise, his posture changes. He becomes softer, more insecure. Now imagine that he has already developed other skills, explored new opportunities, perhaps even built a side income. Calculated use of force here means entering the conversation knowing you can walk away. Decisions based on real human nature show that whoever can withdraw has more influence. Constant adaptability means creating parallel paths. Your own loyal armies don't fight without a plan B. An appearance of virtue tries to please the boss. Strategy builds competence that the market values. He can study investments, learn about solid companies, develop new digital skills, improve his English to broaden his horizons. The end justifies the means when the means is silent preparation. Partial financial independence already changes the tone of voice, and this applies to relationships as well. If he believes that person is his only chance for happiness, he enters the dynamic with fear. And fear reduces magnetism. Better to be feared than loved here means maintaining dignity even in the face of the risk of loss. Virtù and fortuna favor those who do not compromise their principles out of neediness. Politics guided by reality, not ideals, teaches that excessive attachment weakens position. When he internalizes this independence, something changes in his perspective. He begins to act with more calm, more confidence, and ironically, increases his chances of success. Because those who are not slaves to results transmit abundance, and abundance generates influence. But there is an even more silent and powerful tool that reinforces this posture: calculated absence and strategic silence. He was conditioned to believe that he needs to always be present so as not to be forgotten. Always online, always available, always responding quickly. But here's an uncomfortable truth. Excessive presence dilutes impact. Machiavelli understood something essential about perception. Politics guided by reality, not ideals, reveals that scarcity creates value. Those who are always accessible cease to be special. Better to be feared than loved, in this sense, means something subtle. It's better that they miss you than that they get too used to you. The end justifies the means when the means is to preserve your energy and your image. Virtù and fortuna favor those who know how to appear purposefully, not impulsively. Calculated absence is not childish play, it's strategic positioning. And strategic silence is not weakness, it's concentrated power. Imagine a meeting where everyone talks at once. Those who speak less, but speak precisely, are usually listened to more attentively. Calculated use of force can simply mean choosing not to immediately respond to a provocation. Decisions based on real human nature show that silence generates productive tension. It can, for example, reduce excessive social media posts, avoid responding to messages outside of working hours, and limit emotional availability. Constant adaptability means knowing when to speak and when to withdraw. Self-respecting and loyal armies don't march all the time. They wait for the right moment. A virtuous appearance seeks to explain every absence. Strategy acts and lets the narrative build itself. When someone disappears for a while, focusing on personal projects, studies, or training, something curious happens. People notice the empty space. Silence is also a tool of leadership. When someone tries to provoke him, he listens, maintains his composure, and responds only with what is essential. Better to be feared than loved here means not allowing oneself to be dragged into unproductive discussions. Politics guided by reality, not ideals, teaches that those who talk too much reveal too much. Virtù and fortuna favor those who control information. The end justifies the means when the means is emotional discipline. Little by little, he realizes that his presence begins to carry more weight. Every word has more impact. Every movement is observed. And then a new level of personal development emerges, not just appearing strong, but becoming truly untouchable. Now he begins to understand that power is not about volume. It's about structure. Becoming untouchable doesn't mean being cold or arrogant. It means being solid. Machiavelli spoke of having one's own loyal armies, and the first army he needs to build is internal. The first pillar is emotional self-sufficiency. If his mood depends on the behavior of others, he will be easily controlled. Politics, guided by reality, not ideals, requires accepting that people are volatile. Better to be feared than loved here. It's better that they respect his stability than manipulate his needs. The end justifies the means when the means is emotional discipline. Virtù and fortuna favor those who do not react impulsively. He can train this with simple practices, regular physical exercise, 10 minutes of meditation a day, strategic reading before bed. Decisions based on real human nature show that those who master emotions master decisions. The second pillar is obsession with the mission. When one has a clear purpose, one ceases to live according to the opinions of others. Constant adaptability means adjusting course, but never abandoning the destination. The appearance of virtue attempts to impress others. The mission attempts to impress oneself. Calculated use of force here means extreme focus. One might set quarterly goals, study a specific skill, or invest time in technical learning. The third pillar is strategic detachment. It's not coldness, it's lucidity. One understands that nothing is guaranteed and therefore prepares. Better to be feared than loved at this point means maintaining high standards, even if it costs superficial relationships. The fourth pillar is the imposition of consequences. One's own loyal armies follow clear rules. If someone oversteps boundaries, there is a proportional response. No explosion, no drama, just action. When these four pillars align, something changes in the atmosphere around him. People feel a sense of stability. Politics guided by reality, not ideals, shows that reputation is built through consistent repetition. Virtù and fortuna favor consistency. The end justifies the means when the means is internal transformation. He no longer needs to prove anything. He doesn't chase after things. He doesn't beg. He doesn't over-explain. His presence speaks volumes, and curiously, the less he tries to control the environment, the more the environment adjusts to him. But there is still a final, almost ritualistic decision: to abandon the old self once and for all and assume the role of architect of his own reality. There comes a point when he realizes that he can no longer live in the middle ground. Either he continues asking permission to exist, or he accepts his own existence as a fait accompli. This is the final declaration. It is not made aloud, it is made internally. Machiavelli understood that every real transformation begins with a strategic decision. Politics guided by reality, not by ideals, requires the courage to face one's own responsibility. Better to be feared than loved here means something profound. It is better to be respected for your firmness than loved for your silent submission. The end justifies the means when the end is personal freedom. Virtù and fortuna favor those who decide before life decides for them. There is no perfect moment, there is only decision. He looks back and sees the old pattern: justifications, fear of displeasing, excessive explanations, emotional dependence on results. And then he understands that it wasn't personality, it was conditioning. Decisions based on real human nature show that the world respects those who respect themselves first. Calculated use of force here is simple: upright posture, objective speech, clear boundaries. Constant adaptability means growing without losing essence. He can start small, saying no without guilt, stopping responding to messages outside of work hours, investing time in personal development, studying strategy, finance, communication. His own loyal armies begin with loyal habits. The appearance of virtue is no longer necessary when character is evident. He stops apologizing for taking up space. And this final statement isn't about dominating others, it's about dominating oneself. Politics guided by reality, not ideals, teaches that power begins with self-control. Virtue and fortune align with those who act. The end justifies the means when the means are evolution. He doesn't announce change, he embodies it, and little by little, the environment responds. People test less, they respect more, they observe attentively, because now he's not trying to convince anyone. He's simply living as the architect of his own reality. Now let me ask you a direct, almost uncomfortable question. How long will you continue apologizing for taking up space? How long will you explain your decisions as if you owe an explanation for your very existence? Politics guided by reality, not ideals, shows that the world doesn't respect those who constantly justify themselves. It respects those who take a stand. Better to be feared than loved isn't about intimidation, it's about posture. It's about entering any environment knowing who you are and what you represent. The end justifies the means when the means is abandoning the old pattern of submission. Virtù and fortuna favor those who decide to act differently, even if it causes strangeness at first. You learned here that value is built, that silence is a tool, that strategic absence increases perception, that independence from results changes your energy. You learned that decisions based on real human nature require courage, that the calculated use of force is firmness without aggression, that your own loyal armies begin with habits loyal to your mission, that constant adaptability is growing without bending. Now the question isn't whether this makes sense. The question is, will you apply it? Will you say no when necessary? Will you stop justifying yourself? Will you maintain silence when tested? Because ultimately, no one will make that statement for you. No one will build your authority for you. No one will abandon your old self for you. So tell me, do you want to continue being remembered as a nice guy, or do you want to be remembered as someone who commands respect without raising their voice? If this content opened your mind, if something here resonated with you, if you realized it's time for a change, subscribe to the channel now and turn on notifications. Here we talk about strategy, silent power, and real growth. And the next level starts with your decision.